ever wished that you had taken an extra second or 10 before you opened your mouth and you said something that you later regretted? Me too. There have definitely been times in my life when I said something and afterwards thought, oh, why did I say that? Oh, I wish I could have taken that back. I wish I had paused first. Maybe you know that feeling. So, in today's episode of the Happy Hour with Amber, we're talking about mastering the pause, how to respond instead of react, how to create more inner peace in difficult moments, and how one simple pause can help you make better decisions, communicate more mindfully, and protect your own authentic happiness. So, if you're new here, I'm Amber, international best-selling author of The Blind Girl Sees, of course, creator of Navigating Life's Storms and Whole Happy, along with a monthly newsletter called The Midlife Reset. Now, if any of these things are of any interest to you, please let me know in the comments below, and I'll be sure to get that information to you. Okay? So on this channel, we talk about things like about inner peace and authentic happiness, emotional well-being, personal growth, and practical ways to live with more joy from the inside out. And I call those happy hacks. So as I've shared in earlier episodes, authentic happiness is not really an emotion. It's a way of being. That's something that I teach in my course, Whole Happy. Be, create, experience. And in today's episode, I want to talk more about one of the most powerful ways that we can do that in everyday life. By learning to pause before we speak, pause before we react, and pause before we make choices that we may regret later. Because the truth is this, a lot can happen in one pause. A pause can save a relationship. A pause can save you from regret, right? A pause can save your nervous system from going off the rails and jumping into high drive. A pause can help you come back to yourself. Now, in last week's episode, I talked about the importance of choosing your words carefully. And when you're in a heated moment, a stressful conversation, or any situation where emotions are running really high. Because our words are energetic in nature, and they matter. They actually make matter. They create. So if that topic speaks to you, make sure that you go back and watch episode 2 of the Happy Hour with Amber after this one. So today, I want to take that idea one step further. Because before we can choose our words carefully, we often need to pause first. So let me ask you something. Have you ever said something that you wished you could have pulled back on, erased, edited? deleted? Have you ever reacted quickly in a conversation only to realize later that if you had taken just one breath, one moment, and one pause, you would have handled it very differently? I know I would have. And in my own experience, when I've reacted too quickly instead of responding mindfully, it often has not gone so well. Not because that I'm a bad person or because I don't care. It's not because I was speaking from activation instead of alignment. And you know what? That's a really important distinction. Because when we are triggered, overwhelmed, frustrated, hurt, defensive, we are usually not speaking from our highest best self. I'm sure you would agree. We're speaking from an old wound, from stress, from old programming, or from a nervous system that, you know what, it just really desires relief. So that's why this happy hack matters so much. So do your best to get really good at it. Be intentional at practicing it. Use it as a life skill because the pause gives you space. It gives your body a chance to settle down. It gives your emotions a chance to regulate. It gives your thoughts a chance to organize. And it gives your wisdom a chance to enter the room before your reaction from an old unhealed wound gets a chance to enter the room. So let's, talk about some real life ways that we can skillfully master the pause. The first way to mastering the pause, of course, during a conversation. This is probably the first thing that most people think of. It's the one I think of. And you know what? For really good reason. When someone says something that rubs you the wrong way, it hurts your feelings, it frustrates you, or catches you off guard, your first impulse may be to jump in immediately to defend yourself or to correct that other person, to explain, or to prove your point. What would happen if instead you paused? What if you fully listened with intent to be completely present, letting the other person finish before you start speaking? What if you try to understand what they really, truly, actually meant? Kind of, instead of reacting only to how it landed for you, right, or for me, what if you listened in between the words, kind of got in underneath the current of what they were saying? Sometimes what a person is really saying is really revealing something deeper about their own pain, their fear, stress, or even unmet needs. And I often will remind myself of this, that what I hear them say, without interrupting or putting my spin on it, is more about them. And how I choose to react, hopefully not, how I choose to respond is clearly more about me. Now that pause in a conversation can make the difference between conflict and clarity. It can make the difference between regret and wisdom. And it can make the difference between reacting emotionally and communicating mindfully. Yeah. So the second way to mastering the pause, well, like I mentioned, it's when you feel triggered. This is where emotional regulation really, really comes in here, because maybe someone uses a particular tone that you didn't like, a particular expression that kind of it stirred something within you. Maybe it was a past memory. It might be that you felt dismissed. Maybe you felt misunderstood. Or someone criticized you, interrupted you, ignored you, and said something that, really poked at the bear. Like an unhealed wound, right? Now that trigger can light up your whole body like a bomb that's getting ready to detonate, all within seconds. Am I speaking truth here? And when that happens, you know what? You may feel a rush to react immediately. But this is exactly when mastering the pause becomes really powerful. So I'm going to ask you these questions. What are you feeling right now? What do you really, what's going on within yourself? Especially when you are getting ready to react rather than respond. So, how do I want to respond right now? Is something that you could ask yourself. The thing I try to remind myself is this: not every feeling needs an immediate voice, and not every trigger needs to run the show. Sometimes the most powerful thing that you can do is pause just long enough to let your higher self catch up. Third way, mastering the pause, is just about before that you are about to say yes. Now, how many of you have done this? You're saying yes because you don't want to disappoint somebody, because you want to be helpful, because you want to feel needed, noticed, and even saying yes to commitments that your heart is not into. You say yes to giving away your energy, your power, your time, and your money. Now, we often say yes way too quickly before we've had a chance to check in with ourselves. And then later, we become resentful, overwhelmed, annoyed with ourselves, and we end up feeling exhausted and drained, carrying this heavy energy. Now, of course, this is so common with midlife women. Mastering the pause means possibly saying instead, let me get back to you on that. I need to think this through a bit. Can I get back to you with an answer tomorrow? Let me sleep on it. Those are pretty common, right? A pause before a yes can save you from a painful realization later. Authentic happiness isn't built by constantly abandoning your own needs in order to make someone else comfortable. The fourth way to mastering the pause is before making a purchase or a commitment. How many times have we done this one? Where you're online, you see something that you'd like to have, be it a course, a product, a service, a program, a membership, an offer, an item, doesn't matter. And the messaging, of course, is don't wait, limited time offer, buy now before they're all gone. Only a few spots left. This is a designer piece and there's only so many left. Buy it right away, buy now. And you, well, you really want it. So before pressing the buy now button, simply ask yourself, do I need this right now? Really? Can it wait? Is this a want or is this truly a need? Is this an impulse buy or an intentional buy? Am I able to sleep on it before moving forward with my decision? Now, I'll often check in with my body in those particular moments. And you know what? Sometimes my body will kind of I'll feel a chill coming across my body somehow. Sometimes my stomach will kind of start churning. I might even get distracted, or my body will just feel really contracted rather than expanded and excited about it. Now, in that pause, while recognizing these particular signs, it tells me an awful lot. It tells me that I need to take some time to further contemplate my decision and not to react from impulse. Now, when I actually follow through with it, which I'm getting better at it, I have to say, it works really well. Okay, fifth way to mastering the pause is just before making an assumption of something that was said or done. Wow, this is a biggie, right? We can so easily and quickly create a whole whopping story in our heads about what we think someone said or meant. And you know what? The thing is, we don't really know for sure what the truth is, right? We convince ourselves based on lots of personal factors and past conditioning and our beliefs, and we're sure that what they meant by what they did or said was true for us, right? So one of the most powerful pauses that we can do is the one just before making that assumption. Now, before turning our thoughts into an exaggerated story, before turning that story into a belief, before turning that belief into a reaction, and before potentially creating an undesirable result. So if we can instead look at the bigger picture, being more objective and seeing that possibly one or both of you, well, maybe you were just tired. That one or both of you simply misunderstood the context, got distracted, and maybe what was actually said was nothing to do with you at all. By pausing before assuming gives us the chance to choose curiosity over a conclusion. And there is so much peace in that. The sixth way to mastering the pause is when your mind, starts to spiral out of control. Not all of our reactions are loud and visible. Sometimes our reactions are internal. One thought leads to another one, and next thing you know, you've been hijacked by a runaway freight train, and with no brakes, you're full of worry, fear, or emotional overwhelm. You have some serious overthinking going on. Now, what I do when I catch myself in this state is a deliberate pattern interrupt. What is that? It's doing anything, absolutely anything that isn't what you're currently doing, which is thinking. You know what? I'll move my body in weird ways. I'll get up and dance. I'll sing. I'll be very animated. I'll march on the spot. I really don't care. I'll sweep the floor. I'll walk the dog. I'll call a friend. It doesn't really matter as long as it interrupts the pattern of your runaway thoughts. Now, other times I will simply, I'll put my hand on my heart and I'll call myself back, reminding myself that I have thoughts, I experience thoughts, and I feel those thoughts in my body, but they are not me. Now, by mastering the pause, it can stop a whole avalanche of unnecessary suffering. Okay, the last one. The seventh way that you can master the pause is to be true to yourself by not abandoning yourself. Now, this is quite likely the very most important one of all. Before you say yes, when you really mean no, before you override your body and not listen when it's asking for your attention, before you silence the validity of your intuition, before you people please, before you shrink to keep others comfortable, and before you betray your healthy boundaries in order to avoid someone else's disappointment, pause. It's in this pause where your self-respect lives. And when you can learn to pause before abandoning yourself, you actually strengthen self-trust. Now from here, your words, your choices, your relationships, and your experiences all begin to change with your authentic happiness. It can be realized now. So if I could just leave you with one thing, it's this. A pause isn't a weakness, and it isn't avoidance, and it's not doing nothing. A pause, it's really quite powerful. It's wisdom, and it's giving yourself the sacred space to choose who you want to be in that moment. So when you do that, you create inner peace, you create clarity, more self-control, emotional regulation, and authentic happiness that some people, you know what, they rarely know. So just before I wrap this up, this episode of The Happy Hour with Amber, let me ask you something. Where could you master the pause in your own life to experience more authentic happiness, joy, and well-being? Let me say it another way. How much happier would you be if you mastered the pause in your conversations, in your reactivity, in your spending habits, in your commitments, in your assumptions, and in your self-respect? So let me know in the comments below if this episode resonated at all with you. I'd love it if you would subscribe to my channel, No Sight Required, and maybe share this or, my other videos, because you know what? There's somebody out there that really probably could really use what I'm saying right now. And then come back next week for more conversations on inner peace and joy and authentic happiness and living well from the inside outward. Now, please remember, sometimes it only takes one breath, one pause, one mindful moment that can change the trajectory of your very life, of your day. Okay. With that, I bless you and I hope that you have a beautiful, happy week.